Butterfly, fly here with me.
Hello. I've got a question for you. When do you become a musician? And is our aim perfectionism, or is our aim just to be? If they're strange questions, then I think I might need to explain. I've spent a lot of my musical journey trying to question, or potentially questioning, if I am a musician. Because, maybe I can't play my piano as good as other people. In fact, I can't play piano anything like someone that's really good at playing a piano. And if I ever take my hand to a piano to write a song, it is a huge blank. I am playing it to such a simple, bare bone level that has no correct technicality to it at all. But my knowledge on a guitar is transferred as best as I can onto a piano. And even my knowledge of being a guitarist is actually pretty limited to chords. And I have learnt scales and various things around that, but there's certain limitations or certain things I haven't mastered maybe yet that others may have done. But when did I become a musician? One of the most hottest debated subjects in the world is when does somebody become human? And it's a massive subject with so much technicality to it, and the implications of those opinions and viewpoints can be very different in how we view people and treat people, and a very silent, unknown dilemma, which I think is worth a musician knowing, is actually, I believe, you become a musician the moment you start being able to play something. Whether that's beating a stick against a drum or a pot or a pan. I remember making my youngest literally walk on a piano as a baby, giving her free rein to tread and step however she wished or could. And I would suggest the moment she enjoyed the sound of her making that noise of her own chord, she became a musician at that point. Just like a baby has to grow up and learn how to be a human, both in how they physically use their body and in how they treat other people. In the same way, I feel like we are a musician to start with, but our ability to play or convey our feelings or control that sound is the thing that grows and develops and becomes, potentially with time and the right encouragement and the right opportunities, becomes of a good quality. Okay, I have seen two musicians in my lifetime. There is a musician that has gone through all of the standards, gone through all of the technicalities to be able to keep time perfectly, to perfection. They can literally see the written music on a piece of paper and perform it without ever hearing a note before, and they can play it perfect, and it's amazing. Yeah, another musician can play the same tune to the same perfection, but he's never ever seen a note on page. He's used his ears, and been able through that process, and maybe visually copying other people, visually looking at what somebody else is doing, and being able to interpret how to play the same piece of music to sometimes the same perfection. And they both end up in the same place. And suddenly, at that point, sometimes those two different musicians who fit in those two separate boxes, you suddenly see a big difference. Maybe the musician that's been able to perfect reading music and all those technicalities can go to piano and not have any music, and someone asks them to play, and they everything they've learnt seems to vanish from their mind. It's like they've got no confidence in being able to play, and yet somebody else who's not had all that journey is able to free flow, just able to go with the flow and play off memory. I've met people in the span of those that can do both. Sometimes people can really do both really, really well. And they would put me to shame any day in terms of playing music and showing their development. But it is very interesting to those two different styles. It's like one has become a perfectionist, perfect, in their own right, perfect, technically perfect. And yet the other one has learnt how to just be a musician. One is a perfect musician, can read the music, understands the music, perfect. Yet the other person has learnt to be a musician. They both are musicians, but one has learnt just to kind of be on a piano or be on a guitar or be able to sing, be on the drums, without any of the technicality, education behind it. But yet somebody else can be perfect. I mean, if you give the person that's learnt by ear, if you give a piece of music, if you give me a piece of music, and it's got chords above it, I'm going to start being limited. If I've never heard it before, I become very limited in what I can do with a song. But yet somebody else who can look at the music, be perfect in playing it, if they don't have the music, they don't always know what to do. And I think that's, it just shows you that there's more than one way to be a musician. Every musician is different. And why am I saying about this? Well, one of the worst things I think is about a musician is comparing how you perform to somebody else, comparing in a negative light. Sometimes I've been harsh with myself, thinking, well, I can't read this music, and I can't play this piece of instrument, or this instrument or piece of music as good as this other person, and therefore I say I'm not a musician. Well, that's wrong. I'm just a musician that hasn't developed that type of skill. I haven't developed the confidence in that approach to bringing music and a song. And in life, I'm not going to say the story for the same reasons as the story's normally told, but I think a big lesson I've seen in knowing about a Christian story of this Jesus, this perfect man going onto a cross, for everyone else. I think a very big obvious lesson there is the fact that you could be the most perfect human being, you could be the kindest human being, you could be the extreme of perfection, and it doesn't matter when it comes to acceptance. You can be literally God if in a story and still be not accepted by others. Yeah. And the same as a musician, you could be the perfect musician and still not necessarily be accepted by others. And why am I saying this? This has set me free, not just in my spiritual walk, where you could often feel like you're doing a bad job when you're trying to care for people, but it's actually set me free as a musician, because I'm free to be me. I do my best. I do my sincere best. I give my time to play music. I give my time to listen to other people play music. I give time to try and learn some of the technicality that supports it, to help me grow as a musician. But I always am a musician. I always am a musician. And it's a difference between learning how to perfect a song, maybe, and how to be a musician. And I think a young person, maybe, if you could learn anything from an old dog, like myself, is to be able to appreciate both. In just being yourself in the process, even if that's in a learning state, which I think we probably all are anyway, if we're honest. But it's a very important thing. And actually, when it comes to the end result, when you're standing in front of people or trying to sing into a studio booth, you can be perfect and not be accepted. The story of Jesus, one day he's being cheered by the crowds, the next day he's being booed. But actually, the credit given to someone like a Jesus is the fact that people are still talking about his life today. Examining his life and how he lived it. And actually, there's sometimes where we've got to leave our music and our songs when we've done our best to give a song. Sometimes we have to accept and not let there be too much emphasis on whether people accept our music or not. Yes, it feels hugely encouraging when people give us an applaud. Yes, that can feel hugely wonderful when you get the mass. I can't imagine what it feels to have a mass of millions cheering you for singing a song so well. It probably feels absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. But the opposite to that pendulum is, well, what if you sing a song that doesn't go down well? How is it going to affect you as a person? And I've seen plenty of friends of mine, seemingly crash and burn emotionally because they've produced a song or sung or given their best, and it's not been received, and it's hurt them, or discouraged them. And so I want to encourage you and make you think about this. If you're a musician already, you don't have to strive to become a musician. You could just relax a little bit and just understand over time, journey of life, you will become potentially perfect in your performance. And over time, you might learn, you should be learning to just be. In that process, you'll learn to just be a musician, to have fun. Yes, learn the straight lines and the edges and the technicalities, but then have some fun. Play around, experiment, be creative. Get the best of both. Sometimes you've got to put the sheet music away and listen to the sound. The first thing my dad ever taught me when I'm playing guitar was to tune, and tune by ear. It's so easy now to use a tuner, but he taught me to do that. For a long time I was trying to master this, trying to get that fine line that made something in tune. And it's amazing how much metaphorically that applies to music. and to life, how we're trying to fine tune the way we deal with each other, fine tune the way we play our music, trying to listen. It was a very big key about that. It wasn't so much knowing the technicality of A, B, C, D, E, or, you know, it was listening and learning the technicality. This is an E string, this is an A string. Both work together, knowing the technicalities and the hearing. And some of the best musicians I believe I've ever seen or heard or witnessed are those that somehow get both, or perfect one of those to, to such an extreme where they can free flow like a jazz player or something, yet somebody else in a classical orchestra can get on a piano and play something technically perfect. Both are absolutely amazing, and sometimes you'll get a musician that plays them both, can nail them both. But most of those, if you really look at them, have just learnt to be a musician ultimately, and also put in the hard work of learning the technicality and all that. So, yeah, just be a musician and grow in your ability to deliver a perfect song. But don't ever hang too much on other people's appreciation of that. Don't lean too strongly on people accepting you or not accepting you. You need to accept yourself as a musician, wherever your stage is on that process. This is a really hard lesson. It's something I'm still learning about now, because it's so easy to be discouraged, and it's so easy to get a big head. Find that fine line in the middle where you're just being a musician, you're just being yourself and enjoying music and working hard at it. But it's got to have the right heart, you've got to have the right balance to do it really well, and save yourself a lot of stress that I've seen other people have, and I've experienced myself. You know, when you feel like you're nervous and all that kind of stuff. Well, there you go. It's good, I hope.
You were always meant to be